What you may not know about mortgages. So when lots of people come to me have already completed some training in the UK or online or they've read books. And these are generally the things that they don't know. So they've misplanned because they don't understand the things that are specific to Ireland. So most people understand the basics of mortgages. They know that you pay a deposit and you borrow the rest. But the things they don't know is that the 70 or 80% loan to value is based on the lower of the purchase price or the value. So you can't say overpay for something because you love it, because the bank won't lend. So the lower of the purchase price or the value. It's not, you can't go out and find something for 70,000 and say, oh God, I got it 30% below market value. It's actually worth 100 and I'm going to be able to borrow 70%, which is 70,000. That's not going to happen. And we don't have equity release either in Ireland, remember. So it's more complex than that, which we go into in module 2. But it's loan to value or purchase price, the lower of the two. So if it's no good that you've locked in equity, that's just not going to help you at all. The second thing to remember, which most people don't, is they're looking at completely derelict houses. The bank won't lend at all on something that's uninhabitable. They have to be able to see an income straight away. The third thing which the bank will not tolerate is lending for flips. So mortgages are for buy-to-lets or for your home. They're not for flips. There's a lot of work goes into registering a mortgage and doing applications, etc. So if you go to your local AIB, BOI and you take out a mortgage and you pretend you're going to rent or live there and you sell it again in 4 months, well, you won't be getting another mortgage off them. Mortgages are really not suitable for flips. They won't be able to stop you if they don't know what you're going to do, but you will not get the second one. And also you'll waste a good bit of money getting the mortgage registered. Your solicitor is going to be dearer for a purchase with a mortgage than a purchase without. So it's foolhardy to think that you'll take out mortgages and not tell anybody and do flips, because you'll be caught out very quickly with money. So few lenders in Ireland. The next thing to bear in mind, which people often come to me with a brilliant plan and I haven't thought of this, is we've only in one interest-only product in Ireland in 2020 with ICS, which trades as Dillisk, and you have to have a minimum salary of 40,000 plus your own home to apply. So when I say plus your own home, not renting. So you have to own your own home. There's no problem having a mortgage on it. But this is tripping up people who maybe don't have a home yet, but they wanted to focus on building a portfolio first. Or they do have, they did have a home and they decided to sell it to get money to build a portfolio. The big problem is you have to have your own home to apply for a buy-to-let mortgage with ICS. The reason is they don't want you to. They're taking out these mortgages on the assumption that if you don't pay, they'll be able to apply to repossess it. If you move into it and say it's my family home and I've kids and I'm here and I can't leave and I've no place else to go, it'll be very difficult for them to repossess. That's why they insist on that. So they don't want it to become a family home. They don't actually do family home. They're starting to do family home loans. But that wasn't the space they've been in for the last couple of years. So 40k also is, it's not a bare wage salary. Like, it's a fairly good salary. For lots of self-employed people wouldn't have 40,000 net profit appearing on their tax returns. They will not, it's no good saying you have 40,000 rent. They don't want you living off the rents either. So it's not that simple to get a mortgage, much less an interest-only product in Ireland. So this is one of the reasons why I caution against giving up your job, which we'll go on to. So I would say build the portfolio first, stay in your full-time job and keep that salary sort up. Obviously, if you're desperate to get out of your job, you have to do this sooner rather than later and get those couple of first loans. The other thing to remember is they only lend in some towns and cities. Minimum sizes apply. You need to ask first. So I live in Mayo and I contact lately with a young fella who was local, and he had it all planned out. You know, he was going to buy this house at this value and thing, and then he'd refinance, and then he'd all based on UK property training, none of which can actually be done. So I had to rain on his parade immediately and say, first, it's uninhabitable, then it doesn't meet criteria for towns and cities. Thirdly, you don't have a 40k salary, so you won't be able to get interest only. You might get a product with AIB or BOI, but actually it'll have to be your home because you don't have another home. There was about 6 different headers under which it couldn't have worked, but because the training he had done was UK based, he didn't know any of that. So it's very, very important to understand how we operate. It doesn't matter what happens in the UK or Scotland or Wales or Spain or Portugal. This is how we operate. Um, One positive thing that you might not know is the rent a room allowance. So I just mentioned that in the previous lesson. You can bring in 40 up to 14k rent, and you don't, once you're living in that house, so you've one room, you've maybe 2 rooms let out, and you've 14,000 towards paying off that mortgage immediately in your own. So if you had that 14,000, say, so you bought a cheapish house, rented out 2 rooms in it, might be a 2 bed to start with, you might turn it into a 3 bed. And that's what I did when I had my first home. I bought a 2 up, 2 down. I'm actually moving back to a house that's almost identical to what my first house was. So it's really funny. I bought bigger and bigger and bigger houses, and then I realised I didn't need the space at all, and it's all hassle and maintenance. And I'm now going back to a house that's nearly the exact same as my first house. Um, so the rent a room allowance of 14k, you could have, say, 2 bedrooms upstairs, but remember you could use the parlour room downstairs as a bedroom. You could put in another bathroom under the stairs, and then you could rent both of the rooms upstairs and they'd share the main bathroom. 14,000 coming in, that would serve us quite a good mortgage, and then you'll be in a great position to go to ICS and say, I'd like to buy something else, and I don't actually have to pay anything off my home mortgage. So your affordability is going to be really, really good. So that's what you might not know about mortgages.